Welcome to Gaia's Love, a podcast of brief messages to help humanity bridge the gap to the new earth. My name is Vivienne Gerard. It is my delight to be a scribe for consciousness today, sharing the wisdom that flows through from Source. Here we go. Episode 71. It is Monday morning here in Cincinnati. It is cold, it is rainy, it is gray. It is the kind of Monday morning where, once again, you don't want to get out of bed. Today when I was meditating, I went through some options of titles or topics, and what I came back to was digging in the dirt, because that's what we did most of the weekend. And also, when I was reading Esther Mama's post this morning, it was all about digging deep and going into the unconscious or the hidden or the places you don't want to look at. And so it feels even more timely now that I read her post to go, it's about digging in the dirt today. So I'm going to share a story of my version of digging in the dirt from this weekend, because I know that stories always have layers of meaning, and whatever awarenesses or patterns or thoughts come up for you, it's simply because there's a match in the energy to what I'm feeling or experiencing. So my story has my own interpretation that I have of it, and you listening to the story will give you your interpretation that hopefully will open up something new for you. Okay, so digging in the dirt. First of all, I was never a gardener growing up. My mom loves gardening. She is so talented at it, and she has this ability to envision a beautiful landscape and then commit to doing it, and over years create the most magnificent gardens. I mean, massive. My mom is so talented, and it comes from her family. Her parents were the same way. But I always thought it skipped me. When I was little, I'm like, I am not going to spend all my time as a grown-up in the garden. Like, why? It's messy, it's hard work. Like, why would I do that? And then when my first husband and I moved in together into this beautiful home with our kids, I wanted to make it so pretty. And so I would work all the time. I mean, hours. I would spend 4 or 5 hours in a row just moving plants, dividing things, creating new flower beds, to the point where I'm sure my husband was so irritated with me. But we would just work on it, and it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. We created this incredible backyard and just beauty everywhere, and everything grew very quickly. We were in that house for quite a while, and we could see the progress of the gardens. And then when we separated and divorced, and I met the man who became my new husband, he had a house and I had this house. And when we agreed we were going to sell both of our homes and buy a new one together, there was some overlap on time. So we took some of our plants from either home and stored some of them in buckets. It tried to make it work where we could transfer some of what was each of ours into our new garden. He also comes from this family of gardeners, and he's so talented at seeing where things can go and, supporting and nurturing the growth of these beautiful plants. His home had the most beautiful, beautiful garden. So when we decided to move in together, we had all of these mismatch of plants, and we put them in the ground, but it was certainly not to any master design. It was just to get them in the ground, because we also were unpacking boxes and trying to consolidate 2 homes into one. And at the same time, we decided to put the pool in the backyard, which was an awesome project. And also all the trucks broke the driveway in the front yard. And so everything was just a hot mess for a long time. Lots of chaos, lots of activity, and not much of a garden, especially in the front. So for quite a while, we focused on the backyard, built a retaining wall. My husband put a fence in, landscaped around the pool. We really put a lot of time and attention into the back. And The front was fine. It was pretty, but it wasn't anything that we both loved. Oh, saw a squirrel. Squirrel. All right, you may hear him barking. I wasn't expecting that. So, about probably 3 months ago, I was meditating one morning and I wanted to sketch. This whole idea just flowed through me, and I wanted to sketch what our home would feel and look like energetically and physically as we expand how much healing and energy we're running through this what I call sacred space, this vortex of energy that is our home. So I started sketching the house. I was looking at a picture and drawing it from the picture and showing all this light coming out the top, all this energy moving out of the home. And then I drew the driveway, which we still need to replace because it's still damaged. And then I started sketching the landscaping, and what flowed through was a completely different look for our front yard than what I had thought of before. Lots more grass, a smaller bed, more of a pattern in the bed, this beautiful blooming weeping cherry, just all these extra pieces, some water down at the entrance with rocks. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And so I showed it to my husband a little bit after I drew it, and I said, I think this is where I want us to go with our front yard. Are you interested? What do you think? Because it's a massive project. So he loved it. He loved it. And we put it on hold for the summer, and we decided about a month ago, like, it's time. We're going to do this project. So it's a new moon, right? It was a new moon a week ago, and I had 2 new moon circles on Thursday and Friday, and then we both committed on Saturday. We're going to tear the yard up. We're going to destroy the front garden. We're going to move probably 40 plants, put them to the side, bring new sod in, bring a whole bunch of dirt. Like, we're going to do it. And my mom came over and she's like, oh, I don't know. That's a lot of work. I don't know if you want to do that. Are you sure? And we're like, yeah, it'd be great. It's great. We're going to be fine. So we started on Saturday morning. It was chilly, but at least it was dry. And the ground was wet from the rain the last couple of days, but it wasn't raining on us, which was awesome. We went and picked up the sod, came back home. We start digging up all the plants. We're moving them to the side. I mean, these are heavy plants because all the dirt's coming up with it where the roots are. So we're lugging all these plants around. My husband's digging up all the wiring for the lights, and I mean, it was just becoming this massive, heavy mess. But we were ahead of schedule. We were earlier than we thought we would be. We got all the plants moved. We both sit down on the concrete of the driveway. We both lie down on the concrete. We're looking at each other like, oh, we got a long day in front of us. And my husband starts laughing. He's like, we are almost 50. Oh, it's so funny. I'm like, you're right. Maybe we overcommitted. But then we were remotivated. We had some food, and we decided to keep going. The machine was delivered that was going to scoop all the dirt. The dirt was delivered, 12 yards of dirt. And then it got messy. It got so messy. We were trying to move the dirt everywhere. It wasn't working. The machine was just hard to maneuver because it would scoop too low or it would flip up a little bit in the back, and like, my husband was a maestro with it, but it was still just so much dirt to move. And then we were trying to level it out so that we could actually lay down all of the sod, all of this grass. Like, it got so hard. It got so hard, and there was a point where I remember just sitting down on the driveway and watching him move this dirt and just going, what did we do? What are we thinking? Why are we doing this? This is the stupidest idea ever. We should have waited and hired someone, or, your mind starts going into all the what ifs. And also, like, we were committed. We had plants out of the ground that would die if we didn't get them back in the dirt in a day or two. And the next day we were taking our daughter back to college. So we were on a time crunch. And I know we all hit those moments in our journeys where it just feels easier to walk away. It just feels easier to give up and forget the picture, forget the dream, forget how it looked. Like, screw it, And I felt that afternoon, like, I'm just done. I can't watch this. It's a mess and there's no way to fix it. And the whole time, my poor husband's just going back and forth and trying to figure it all out and move all this dirt. And we finally reached a point where the dirt was sort of pushed where it needed to be, and then we started using little buckets and scoops and moving things. And I remember at one point just saying to him, like, I need to see a row of grass. Like, I have to see something of this picture taking on form, because right now I can't even remember what the picture looks like. You've got to show me. And so we focused on creating this boundary, this line, this edge between the driveway and where the new grass area would go. And we leveled it out and we put down one row of grass. And that one little row of grass literally shifted everything for both of us. We stepped back and we're like, oh, I remember this dream. I remember the vision. Like, oh my gosh, we can totally do this. We can totally do this. You know, you do this part, I'll do that part. You bring the grass. It was exactly what we needed to recharge, to reconnect back to the purpose of what we were actually doing in our front yard and why we had such a big mess. And so we just put the time in. I mean, it took hours. We slowly and piece by piece would lay down the sod and unravel it and straighten it and go to the next row. And, you know, then we started making the outline of where the flower bed would be so that we could cut the grass to that shape. And we'd get up and we'd walk down the driveway and look back at the lay of the land and reassess and come back. It became easier. It became easier, and we started working together and creating what we had visualized, what I had visualized and shared, and what we both bought into together. And it took all day. We leveled out the dirt. We started getting some of the plants in position of where we wanted to plant them, and our friend came home and started helping us and digging in the dirt with us, and then it got too dark, and so we completed the project. The grass was in, the dirt was in the right place, the plants were all placed above the dirt, and then the next day we just needed to dig the holes and put them in. So some of what we talked about later that evening was, and what I shared on our meditation call yesterday, it was, you know, we impose these deadlines on our visions. In my mind, everything had to be done. It had to look exactly like my picture, and it had to be done in one day. We were going to start Saturday morning, and by Saturday night bedtime, it was going to look like my picture. And I was so attached to that deadline of time. And what happened is we got probably 75% of it done, and we could see we were headed towards that. And then I had to let go of the attachment to time and walk away and heal my body a little bit. Nourish my body, eat. I had a beer, my husband had a beer. We're just like, oh, everything hurt. We were in bed by 9 o'clock. We were so exhausted and dragging the next day, but we woke up and we both looked out the window like, oh my gosh, I see it. I see what we were picturing, and it's almost there, and it's taking on form, and it's phase 1. We have a phase 2, a phase 3. I think we have like a phase 10. And eventually phase 10 will look like the picture, but this is such a huge start in where we're going and what our dream looks like. So digging in the dirt, you know, it's not always fun. It's very messy. It's exhausting. It's backbreaking work. You know, I feel like this is so symbolic of being a human, like just being here in these bodies and these messy lives, and the commitment it takes to stick it out and to hold steady on where we're going and what our visions are. Sometimes it's just a hot mess and we want to give up and walk away. And I feel like that potential energy exists this week. I mean, it always exists, but it exists this week as astrology is bringing things to the surface for us. So may my story of almost wanting to give up and walk away and say screw it. Let someone else clean up our mess. It would not have been as satisfying to walk out our front door in the spring, this coming spring, and see everything popping out of the ground and see the grass healthy and strong. And it wouldn't have been as satisfying if someone else had done that work. It's going to be so beautiful for us to know that we did that, we created that. We brought that vision into reality. So may my story, our story, inspire you in whatever ways it's coming up in your life.
Thank you for tuning in to today's vibration. Let's take this message of pure love out into all of our communities and continue expanding love here on Gaia. So much love from my heart to yours.